I witnessed something that left me cold. I think I tried spoken word poem, a spoken word poem with that, because I was asking myself, is it a case of people not knowing and getting entangled, or maybe even married, and then producing children that have sickle cell? Because in our lame understanding, we were told that it comes when people who are both carriers, maybe the AS child. And I witnessed this boy have a crisis. Oh my God. I was so scared for him. Then my sister said, he will survive it. He always does. He comes here almost, once in a while when he has this crisis. And I shed a tear for a stranger. Not the first time, but that particular day. I just could not explain it. How does one have to live with that amount of pain? And the funniest part is poverty. Look at the poverty gap in the country. How do you even sustain all of the financial demands of maintaining, life as a carrier? And to understand that people in 2026, some people will even tell you, God gives children. God will take care of them. They'll tell you that maybe spiritually, God changes genotype. Frank, you don't get what I never hear. But I keep asking myself, why would someone consciously bring another person into this world to suffer?
That's a very good question, because we have seen cases where people knowingly, get into marriage, and put people at risk. They know that in terms of the genotype that they are not compatible to get married, but because of one thing or the other, because of one faith or the other, because of one prophecy or the other, they get into that very thing. You shared a story of how, you became too emotional about an incident you witnessed. If I tell you a story of a friend of mine that I never knew that he was a sickler until, I think that should be about 3 or 4 years ago, when he reached out to me. We were preparing for World Sickle Cell Day, and he reached out to me telling me that there was one foundation that wanted to have public awareness program on sickle cell on that very day. So he was trying to help me to facilitate appearance on a radio program. And I said, okay, no problem. It's public thing. And I was able to do that. Then on that day, he showed up in the studio to discuss sickle cell. I had been friends with him for more than 10 years without knowing. It was on that day that I got to know.
No physical signs?
I'm telling you, a fellow broadcaster. And guess what? I think it wasn't more than 3 years after that he died. He had a crisis and died. So that tells you that.
Isn't it weird that all the while you didn't know?
Yeah. It was a bad experience. I now recall the day we attended his wedding. My goodness. So the thing was, it was a bad story for me. When I say bad story, it was a bad experience for me. Not that I haven't known about sickle cell, but when somebody who's close to you, you've been friends with that other person, I never knew that this is the kind of thing that this person passes through. So it's because of that we keep on professing, or keep on preaching that people should be able to do the proper screening before they get married, so that we'll be able to curtail the cases of sickle cell that we do have. Because it's not always good to watch people in crisis. If you see them in crisis, you keep not. I mean, you feel for them. So I'm just making that same advocacy that what we're supposed to do to be able to reduce the incidents, we should do that.
Absolutely.
If you advise against getting married because of your genotype, please don't say that your man of God told you this or told you that. And another thing is that if you're doing a screening, don't just depend on one screening. Go for different screening so that you'll be able to have double confirmation of your genotype.
What are you not saying? As an adult, you should already know your genotype. As a matter of fact, if you know that you are a carrier, the first thing that comes with every talking stage is, what is your genotype? We're going to be calling two health professionals, like I said earlier. Dr. Ezinwa Marachiku is coming up first. She's a senior registered Department of Hematology and Blood Transfusion, Nnamdi Azikiwe University Teaching Hospital, Na Youth Nnewi. We're going to be calling her in. She's going to be answering questions bordering on the medical aspect majorly. Of course, we're going to be we're going to be Miss Lee on closing the gap, and of course, survival gap. We're going to be talking about equity in sickle cell disease. And of course, we're going to be making sense of how it happens in the first place. Okay, since her number is busy, I would go over to calling Nonso Stanley Anene. Nonso is not just a health worker, he is also a clergy person. And we're going to be discussing sickle cell from a very, would I call it, personalized angle. Because a lot of persons, this faith factor, what it does, what role it plays in the entire conversation and all of that. Once he's on the line, the conversation will progress from there.
Hello?
Hello, good morning, Nonsa Nene.
Good morning.
You're live on Udala Radio 104.7 FM.
Good morning.
I'm pretty sure you were expecting this call. My name is Chisom Chinedu, and of course, Franklin Ebuka is with me in the studio here.
Okay, Chisom Ebuka. Thank you. It's nice being on the show with you.
Absolutely. Also nice having you here with us. If you listen to Udala often, Nonso's voice shouldn't be new to you. I mean, we've done a couple of things with him in the past. So we're going to dive right into it. And also, I understand you're an Anglican clergy as well. And so, first, as a health worker, the last time I had a conversation with you, you said you were a nurse by profession, explicitly, right? And then I'm pretty sure that in the course of your career, you must have experienced people who have had the sickle cell disease firsthand. And I'd like to know, when you encounter them, what is the first thing they say to you? I mean, how would you adjudge their feelings of their condition?
Okay, for sickle cell warriors, some people call them sicklers, but because we've been doing advocacy for a long time for sickle cell disorder, we call them warriors.
Absolutely.
And for the first time we meet with them, first, some of them live with regrets. In fact, by God's grace, I founded the Olive Sickle Cell Initiative. And we have a couple of members who are already warriors. I tell you the truth, some of them even hate their parents.
Dear Lord.
Why? To them, they feel like, why did you give birth to me? In fact, I tell you the truth, one of my members, although she is deceased now, the father is a known consultant, O&G specialist, and the mom is a known matron in a big hospital in the southeast. I may not want to call it the hospital. She's deceased now. She was the sixth born. She's the only warrior in the house. And she will be worried, why would my dad, who is a doctor, and my mom, who is also a health worker, would want to come close to getting married? Why? They know that the genotype is As and As. So that's why some of them would live with that feeling that their parents hate them. There's nothing used to convince them. Secondly, some of them live with the regrets. In fact, I tell you the truth, most of them don't have dreams. I have one of them that studied, that just finished her OND. And I would ask her, don't you want to go to university? She would say, no, I want to live the day, one day at a time. I'm not sure I will be alive tomorrow.
So they seem to lack the will to live.
Yes, because they already feel like, even traditionally and culturally, we already believe that any sickler, as we usually call them then, will die soon. Some of them, their parents had tried. Okay, I had a case because we rolled out some people into their primary school education. Why? I had a child which is the beneficiary. The parents refused that he would go to school because every time he would go to school, he would come back, he's sick and that. So he chose to train other ones younger than he because they feel like he will die very soon. So imagine living with such consciousness that this child will die very soon. So as such, I don't want to waste my money. Okay, some of them that must have been your classmates, if you would go back in time, you know that some of them during the sports, they will tell them, please stay at the side. I don't want to kill. I will not be the one to kill you. Everybody's trying to segregate away from you, believing that you are weak and the rest. But the fact is that it's not their fault. None of the decisions that put them in that condition was made by them. It was just either by omission, ignorance, or commission. There are some other factors. I tell you the truth. I had a case here with one of my members, Chioma, I will not call the surname. Chioma has been a member of Holy Sickle Cell Initiative. We've been pushing around, going to campaigns, talking to young people, doing advocacy and the rest. And Chioma had suddenly one day called me, I'm in the hospital, I'm coming to do transfusion. My first child is a sickle cell warrior. I said that, Shoma, how come? She said when she comes to explain. Inadvertently, before then, she already knew that she had the genotype of AS. So in her mind, she was conscious enough to know that she would make sure to marry a young man who is AA at least. So in her mind, when they got together, they went to a lab somewhere in Onitsha, and they told them that both of them were AA. In her mind, she knew that this was already wrong because she knew already before then that she was AS. Now she went to another lab who now said, oh, you are AS, then your husband to be is AA. And she said, okay, I foresee because I know that I had been AS all the time. And she got married. Now to come after giving birth to 2 kids, the first one was suddenly getting sick occasionally, and the rest going to get into the hospital. They said that she was ASS. They had to redo the genotype for both of them, the parents, and discovered that both of them were AS. There are some errors that also come from laboratory. It's part of the advocacy we are doing too, to make sure that accreditation in laboratories are made compulsory, because there are many other factors. You know, even like I tell you the truth, most of us, this one is AS, none of us do confirmation, none of us do testing again. So that's why we want to educate people on a day like June 19th to know that, first of all, education and awareness. Let people understand that all over the world, over 8.5 million people are living with sickle cell disorder in the whole world.
Permission to butt in there, Reverend.
Okay.
When you started, you said something about a case of a person who is a 6th child and the only warrior. Please, I know
Yes.
I'm not the only one confused here, because while I was growing up, I mean, this is one of the things that we studied in biology in secondary
It's part
school.
of the myth. It's part of the myth we demystify. Go ahead.
So in secondary school, they told us if you are AS and there is AA or AS, when you drag it, first child, you understand what I'm the matching now, the genotype match. So I am curious to find
Okay,
out
now.
where did it slip in from to the point of the 6th child being
So
the
that's what
only
I'm trying to
carrier.
let you know. Yes, it's possible. Let me tell you why. In genetics, there's a topic in biology called genetics that says characteristics of offsprings are gotten from the parents. So in other words, if we are dark, there's most probability that your parents both could be dark or one is dark. Even if both were fair, it's a recessive gene actually. Someone in your family lineage is dark. That's one. Now, and one of the laws of genetics, which we call the law of independent assortment of genes, or the law of natural selection. This gene is trying to say that the assortment of genes, what do I mean by assortment of genes? If a father is AS, mother is AS, in the first child, maybe he will donate A, the mother will bring A, coincidentally, the first child will become AA. Second child, the father will bring A again, the mother will now bring S, it will become AS. Third child, the father will now bring S, and mother will bring A, it become AS. And then lastly, fourth child, both of them will bring SS. You know, this is practical, theoretical assortment of genes. Now, this law is trying to let us know that this assortment of genes are done independent of one another or by natural selection. In other words, it is possible that your first child may be AA. It's possible that all your children could be AA or 3. It's possible all of them could be AS. And again, it is possible that all of them can be ASS. So it is not judged by the first child is always AA. So let me stop at one child. It is not judged by that. That's a law in genetics. That's why you see two parents giving birth to a short child, and you're wondering why. Because if that's how assortment of genes happen, it's done by natural selection. You cannot control. Okay, I had a member. When she lost this, her brother. There are 2 sicklers in their house. So, but this my member is not a sickle cell warrior. So she had always nurtured this girl because the mom is always feeling guilty. And she's always pained when she's in crisis. So this my member, Lovely, will be the one handling them. But do you know that after all their stress and nurturing, her sister later died. But guess what? Their first brother, their first son, got married. He's AS and married the AS. And she was telling me, brother, remember all we suffered though? He said, don't worry, he told us that it's the first child that will not be sickle. Guess what? The first child became a sickle cell warrior. That child later, in fact, it broke them up because they will always be apportioning blames. I told you, let's not marry. And this one will say, but are you a fool? You shouldn't have married. It broke them up. The child later died. They later came back together, gave birth to a child. Thank God that one was AF. They stopped at that. They don't want to give birth again. And again, technology in Nigeria is not yet developed to the level that you can know the genotype, even in the womb, so that they will control birth. And cultural acceptance too of such technology is also a problem. That's why at birth here in Nigeria, most people you cannot get the genotype of the baby except you have advanced technology in some teaching hospitals. We have that. So at such, the only way is prevention. Discordant couples don't get married. AS and AS don't get married. If I tell you the truth, sometimes we are on radio and people will call us and say, but God will not. This was my wife. God will not allow it. Oh, God forbid. Do you know what I usually tell them? Without casting aspersions to a particular class of people that are sick. Do you know that I would ask him, if you are maybe at the altar about to wedding, and I come to and tell you this your wife has this one disease that cannot be cured, would you go ahead with that marriage? He would tell me no. And I asked him, do you know why you wanted to even attempt going ahead in not minding that you're discordant? It's because the direct suffering will not happen to you. It's the child that will suffering the crisis. What you only be suffering is you'll be losing money, your time. Every time they will call that the child is sick and you get to the hospital. Why? I was trying to let you know about the statistic that 8.5 million people are living with that in the whole world. And Nigeria makes up more than half of that number, 4.5 million. And not minding this number, 150,000 babies are born annually into this number. 150,000 additionally, not minding our literacy level. We have doctors, more nurses, more. Even every family, at least there is a graduate. But still, that number is increasing daily in Nigeria. That's why we want to go into education and awareness. Thank God people are doing the awareness now. Like the myth you just told me now, that if you give birth, it's only after the first child. No, these are myths. It's not direct because there cannot be proof.
Yes, because you already delve into that very area as a clergyman and also somebody who understands science and runs a foundation that takes care of sickle cell warriors. Now, if somebody comes up with a story that I love him so much and I believe that my God is not going to disappoint me, despite the fact knowing that in terms of genotype they are not compatible, how would you want people in this situation to handle such a situation?
We have many cases every day coming up with that. In fact, my hospital where I work as the administrator is one of the approved sites where everybody that will be getting married in my diocese must come for screening. I get to see it every day. In fact, because of that, I'm pushing for a policy. Thank God if it's accepted, then it's good. So that people will, normally the screenings are usually done maybe 1 week to the time. We are trying to push for a policy where 3 months before, when they are coming to book for that wedding, they should go for preliminary screening. And then later on, they can do other ones towards the wedding. Because most of them, I'm sure that what is speaking in their mind now is they're checking how they printed the invitation cards and this and that. They cannot afford to cancel the wedding for such a reason. They feel like, my God saved them. I believe in miracles, I believe in faith. But God gave us wisdom to be able to use them to work. We could have continued wearing leaves and vegetables as clothes. God told us to go into the world and subdue. So we should have used that wisdom. Part of that wisdom is knowing wisdom is profitable to direct. I know God will not shame you, but you already know. I tell you the truth, the answer I usually give is this. Is your love strong enough to weather? Imagine I go to sickle cell clinics. I set up a sickle cell clinic in a hospital then. Some of them will not even want to sit on the chair. They wait in their car for their turn because they feel like everybody person will be looking at them somehow. Why did you give birth to this child? Didn't you know your genotype? Oh, our parents who want to get married and you only check a family and they will get married. Most of them got married by law and they did not give birth to sickle cell person. But now healthcare has advanced that people now check all those things. Would your love be enough to weather that pressure that comes with every time is my child safe where he is? Every time a strange number calls you and you're expecting that they will tell you your child is having crisis. You cut short your travels. You cannot even allow them to live a normal life. You will be spending almost because they will transfusing. Okay, let me tell you what the problem is with sickle cell warriors, which is what causes the crisis. Normal shape of red blood cells is spherical and non-sticky. They're flexible. So when they're passing through arteries, veins, and tiny blood vessels, they can maneuver their way. They don't stick together. But sickle shape, just like the sickle, have crescent moon shape something, and it's sticky. So whenever they're trying to maneuver a bend in the vein, they try to clump there, they stop there. And you know, every organ in your body needs oxygen. They don't have nose. The only nose you have, you breathe in oxygen, it goes into the bloodstream and gets attached to that red blood cell and they travel. But because that red blood cell that is carrying oxygen came towards your knees and blocked there, clumped and remained there, they will die off. Some other organs waiting for that oxygen to come will not receive it. And as such, by clumping there, the red blood cells normally in a normal person takes about between 20 to 120 days to reproduce a new one and die off. As they're dying of new ones are getting produced. But the first bad story with sickle shaped blood cells is that within 10 to 15 days, they are already dying off. And the erythropoiesis, which is the duration for the formation of red blood cells in the bone marrow, takes between 30 to 120 days. So the body will still wait till 30 to 120 days to produce new red blood cells, while already they are shortened by red blood cells and they start becoming anemic. So that's why the anemia comes in, that poor level of blood.
All right.
And that's why they are always looking anemic. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Reverend Nonso Anene. It's been a very insightful time having this conversation with you. We are hoping that the people listening right now, love I could say blind the people, and of course, ignorance would stop blinding them. Because again, I ask a question: how do you wake up? Consider yourself and the person you love, and then have little or no consideration for the innocent person the two of you are about to bring into this life to suffer. Thank you. I would hope to have you again when next we have conversations like this. Have an amazing day.
You're welcome.
All right.
Thank you, Chisom and Franklin.
You're most welcome. And just to let you know, you're still listening to the Polity on Udala Radio 104.7 FM. I know it's not a health show, but today is World Sickle Cell Day, and the conversation is around closing the gap and, of course, bringing about equity in sickle cell disease. And we just have finished having a conversation with Reverend Nonso Anene, who is not just a nurse, he is also a clergy and one person who has had several encounters with warriors, and of course has a foundation of his own where he's working for or raising awareness for the sickle cell disease. I'm going to be calling Dr. Ezinwa Amarachuku again. Let's see if she gets to take a call this time. And let's look at how it all starts in the first place, the medical angle of the entire thing, what people need to know. As much as Nonso already threw in some light on that, if she doesn't pick the call, Frank, unfortunately, she's not available. I suspect she's not available. I'll try some more. And then we can move on to other things. Okay, unfortunately, she's not available. But then, like I said earlier, also already threw some light on it. And so, like you said, Frank, this is not a case of first child, second child. That mathematics doesn't work. If you're AS and the person you're about to get involved with is AS, please dead it. Like Gen Z will say, die it, die the idea, mod it.
Well, where I also want to talk about or emphasize is the fact that if you look at the report as contained in Gather newspaper saying that 40%, okay, they said it's a 40% inaccurate false lab results. They have contributed to worsening the sickle cell disorder, and that tells you that, like I said before, if you go for the very first screening for your genotype, you can't just depend on it and then run with it and say that you are AS or you are this, you are that. It's good that after doing that very first one, you can as well go somewhere else, do the same test to confirm actually that you are what you are said to be. Then second one is for the hospitals. Okay, yes, for hospitals now, because we have discovered that some hospitals are not okay. Some lab scientists, we discovered that some of them now connive with intending couples to falsify results, perhaps because they are in love, and the church where they're going to wed require that they present lab results. They go to lab technicians, connive with them and falsify results and bring to the church, and then church now presumes that, oh, these people are clear,
Imagine
go
going
ahead
here
and
mad
get
on a
married.
moon, we are on a man.
That's they call it love. So if that is the case, that means that the churches have to also be on the lookout. Perhaps that's why the likes of Catholic and Anglican, they will tell you the exact
place.
the
But they
exact
still
also where you're going to
bypass
go
it.
and do it. So what we're saying in essence is this: marriage in Akea, you understand it?
And when the frustration sets in, they divorce. 80% of them end up divorcing. So why do it in the first place?
So, well, I believe that a word should be enough for the whites. If actually you want to help us to reduce this very sickle cell burden that we have in the country, because when I went through the figures, I said 50% of the burden lies in, global burden lies in Nigeria. And it's not because we are not being educated. Yes, we know that we still have some level of illiteracy, but as we are advancing, as people are teaching us, creating awareness, we should be able to hearken to the voice of reasoning, not playing dumb or trying to challenge God because we think that we are believers. So we have to do our own part, and then for the laboratories, they also have to do their own part.
Absolutely.
Upgrade on what they do, because we also discovered that even poor equipment also contribute to this wrong diagnosis, using the wrong reagents. Perhaps the issue of quackery also comes in. So it's a whole lot of things that we need an effort from all sides for us to help curb this very burden.
Absolutely. And just to let you know that you are listening to the Polity on Udala Radio 104.7 FM. The conversation about World Sickle Cell Day is gradually coming to an end. I'm going to bring Dr. Tonio Lizambeki on board at this point to join the conversation. Of course, we're going to be transiting to security and other matters that plague the nation. We're live on Facebook, Udala Radio 104.7 FM. You can drop your reaction on WhatsApp on the number 0803-221-6973. I'll take that again, 0803-221-6973. And I'm going to bring Dr. Tony Lizambeki on board now. And then the conversation will continue.
Hello?
Yes, hello, Tony. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing today?
Very well. Everything is going fine. How are you too?
I'm okay. I'm very well, thank you. Franklin is here.
Hello, how are you, Franklin?
Yes, Tony, good morning.
All right, Tony, I'm pretty sure that you have been listening. And of course, you're aware that today is World Sickle Cell Day. And we've had the conversation with Reverend Nonso Anene. Pretty sure that you heard him talk about the faith aspect of it all, ignorance, illiteracy, and all of that. And also, a report by the Guardian newspaper has it that about 40%, in fact, 40.5% of the population in a state like Kano State have the sickle cell disease. 40% of an entire state's population. That's quite an alarming figure. Now, let's not forget that Kano State is one of the most heavily populated states in Nigeria. And so I'm curious to find out, what do you think is leading that spread in a place like Kano? Is it illiteracy? Is it ignorance? Is it faith? What do you think is the reason why such a large population in one state has the sickle cell disease?
For me, I think we have not done the basics. We have not done our homework very well as a country, as a people. And also, the government has not risen to the occasion. Because when you talk about illiteracy or when you talk about lack of awareness, whose function, whose role, whose duty it is to provide those things, it boils down to the fact that government has not stepped up. If you go to the Constitution under Section 17, subsection 3D, it falls under the objective principles of state policy, that is fundamental objectives and directive principles of state policy. It also provides that state must provide adequate medical and health facilities for all persons, and federal and state governments have enacted supportive policies, including screening programs and the national sickle cell elimination efforts, aligned with broader health legislation like the National Health Act of 2014. For me, like today, we are having Awareness Day. And we know very well that sickle cell, if you go back to history, on December 22nd, 2008, you are aware that the United Nations General Assembly adopted a resolution proclaiming June 19 as World Sickle Cell Day, where it had previously recognized it as global health priority. That was in 2006. But for now, not just Kano State with the population, because we know that it has about 44 local governments. You can also talk about some other southern states. The problem here in Nigeria is that sickle cell, we know very well, is avoidable. Even when we know there are newer technologies like bone marrow, MRI, and so many other things that can at the same time take good care of it, or even bring it to a barest minimum without you feeling about it. But Nigeria being a country of health concern, because before now we've been calling Nigeria a country of a particular concern in terms of security. But I'm saying that Nigeria is also a country of health concern. The other day we were talking about budgets for health for most states, which is about 4 to 5%. And I did say that if you go by a budget declaration of 2015, you understand that it should be about 15% allocation. But nevertheless, the truth is, we will not continue this fire brigade approach. Sickle cell is something that should be of utmost concern. If the government of the day, both at the federal, state, and local government, decides to wipe out sickle cell by preventive methods, it is doable. It is doable. Here in Nigeria, everybody does this lackadaisical thing, I don't care attitude from government, from everyone. And it is very important that in China, if you talk about China, why is sickle cell not prevalent in China? Because of the seriousness that attached to such anomaly. But here in Nigeria, everybody felt ignorance. We know here that we still have very rural population that may not be well educated about things like this. And I also continue to ask why our church is not preaching this. At times they do it periodically. They are advised, but we know very well that churches, mosques, even African religious, adherents, they can do so much. In schools, like when it comes down to primary school, these things should be taught. We should take it to even everywhere, social media. If you go to social media, things like this do not probably take the headlines. Nobody cares to talk about it. Highest we do is to give pity, to show pity on whoever that has it. But it must go beyond that. We must raise awareness campaign at different levels. Government must come in. Young school children at any level, even at primary school level, should be taught, should be educated to, things like this. They should know it's a red flag as we have it currently. A red flag. The numbers we are having, they are very disturbing. Here in Nigeria, we are told about 300,000 deaths annually. I don't know, 300,000 deaths. That's what we have been told. Or globally anyway. It tells you that if care is not taken, it is something that would continue to haunt us. And look at some good talent, bright talent, people losing their lives as a result of anemia, sickle cell anemia. They die of talent. And it's hot at a point where parents, community have invested so much in these children. At a point they could not take it any longer. I have a cousin who died as a result of sickle cell anemia. I have friends who have died. I've got some people while in school. It tells you that drastic actions, efforts must be put. And it's not just something that falls on government alone. It extends beyond government, religious leaders, traditional leaders, even those who are on social media space, everyone. We should see sickle cell as another form of banditry, health banditry. That's what we're going to see. It's a red flag for everybody. Let's manage what we know we can manage. It is preventive. We can take that steps.
All right, then. Thank you, Tony. We are hoping that the people listening who are affected would hearken to the voice of reason and not let themselves be blindfolded. Like the report by The Guardian said, 80% of couples who blindly walked into it end up divorcing. Because if you've ever had to cater for a child who is frequently ill, you see how much strain it brings to that relationship you so lovingly entered into, and you see how quickly the two of you fall out and fall apart, and you see how you never really progress because your finances are always drained. or I loved him or I her so much I couldn't let go of him or her. How do you bring another person into the world and knowingly bring them into a life of torture? I hope you ask yourself this question. Is a rhetoric. I don't expect you to give me any answers, but I am hoping that when you truly answer it for yourself, you're able to make the right decisions. And from there, we are moving on to other matters. Nigeria at the moment, according to this report by the Punch, bandits attacks. Federal government raises 500 billion naira emergency security fund. We understand that about 500 billion was deducted from the Federation Account Allocations Committee revenue for May 2026 to fund a national security emergency intervention. Multiple sources familiar with the development told the Punch. The deduction was made before the monthly revenue sharing exercise among the federal government, states, and local government councils, according to senior officials privy to the FAC proceedings. Confirming the development, one of the sources said FAC deducted 500 billion for National Security Emergency Fund this month. And so, Tony, the first question is this about the money? The problem with insecurity in Nigeria, is it really about underfunding or us just running around the circle and not really going to what we actually should be proactive about?
For me, I think the deduction, no matter how they try to slide it, we would ask ourselves the very question: what was the deduction for? They call it emergency funds. But from reports, this is not the first time, because the 500 billion emergency fund, there have been about 57 billion spent earlier this year as security emergency funds. The point remains that questions have not been asked on what the funds were actually used for.
Exactly. Does it translate into measurable improvement? Simple.
That's the point. We are told that the funds were also part of the amnesty program. This issue of President Boko Haram, their rehabilitation, their reintegration, and some of the de-radicalization programs, the funds were also part of it. But for me, I've said it many times that we are busy chasing shadow. We are chasing shadow. 500 billion deducted from federation accounts for such emergency, because we are told that the funds will also deploy to take care of those who are in different IDP camps. Even when we are told stories about how these people have not been taken care of, how many of them die in these camps, how many are we going to accommodate? We have not been able to go to the consecutive root of this issue. Look at what we are doing. The 500 billion, of course, if we put that, if we plow that into the capital component of health in this country, we will see the difference. But look at where we have plowed it. IDP camps, rehabilitation programs for Boko Haram, repentance, or whatever you call them. It is absurd. It is bizarre. No matter under any guise it is coming from. For me, I've said it many times and I'll keep saying it. We are just chasing shadow. We have not decided to deal decisively with this issue of insecurity. We have not been able to even invest in technology. I would have been much more okay if we are told that these funds were used to invest in technology. Sensors, I've said it many times. And there are so many things we can also invest on. But because the number we keep swallowing, we will keep deducting. We will keep deducting for federation accounts. Money that ordinarily would have been used for infrastructural development or maybe welfare of citizens. We are using it to take care of some of the, solid and let me say this. Because politicians know what they're doing. Many of them knew very well that they did not develop some of these rural communities. Education, zero. Health, zero. An issue of welfare, zero. And people pick up arms. They were easily conscripted by jihadists. And they began in the atrocious acts. But the point remains that they know very well that they have failed. Politicians know very well they have failed. And the best they could do is to go back to a measure that could yield nothing. This will not yield anything. You've deducted 57 billion earlier this year. You are not deducting 500 billion at this point in time. Is it going to end? By the time the year comes to an end, you are going to make another reduction. You ask yourself, have you made any progress in any front? You have not made any progress. You are still where you are. From 57 billion to 500 billion. From 500 billion, who knows? It may get to 800 billion. From 800 billion, who knows? It may get to 1 trillion. And we keep deceiving ourselves. This is chasing shadow for me. And it has nothing to do with the substance. The point remains that we have failed in area of development. We know that some of these people who are into this, they have different reasons. And many of these large populace, they were easily conscripted. And they have an agenda. But the truth is, these people feel well taken care of by these Boko Haram elements. Where the state has failed. Boko Haram elements are the ones feeding them, taking care of their needs, giving them shelter, and at the same time, they do what these people tell them to do. It is a shame for all of us, not for the government alone. It's a shame. It is, for me, an absurdity. Absurdity. I don't know how to define it. It is not a way to go about some of the things. Whoever brought this idea, how it was adopted, and other things connected to it therein, for me, it is not the best way to go. You can't keep deducting. People who ordinarily this money should have been used to take care of, they are not being taken care of. We are so much concerned about the monster we created. We created this monster when we failed to do the needful, when we failed to do things ordinarily we're supposed to do. And the monster we've created is now haunting us, chasing us. And what we could do is to also help the monster, because some of these things is the way. Nobody will tell you that it could be that some of this money could also be used in ransom payment. We may not be told. I'm not saying it is so. But I have every reason to suspect. And it tells you a whole lot. We don't even have a common policy on this issue of insecurity. We don't even have a legislation on this issue of insecurity. There are so many things we have not done as a country. All we are, busy looking is chasing shadow. For me, it is total absurdity.
Now, Tony, if you go through that very report, there's a claim that the state government are aware of the deductions. So if that is the case, does that not suggest that there could be a joint effort aimed at using that strategy to deal with insecurity?
There's no way such deduction could have been made without the state government being aware. And there's no way such deduction could be made without them giving their consent, because we're talking about consolidated revenue accounts owned by the 3 tiers of government. So we are aware that they are also aware they consented to it. But I'm saying that we are chasing shadows. It's an absurdity. We are even growing the monster. We are not fighting the monster. We are growing the monster. And I have said, can anybody give a breakdown of how the money was spent? How many IDPs are we going to create more? If you go to these IDPs, you will in fact cry for this country. Many women are being delivered of babies in these IDPs. Many, if you go there, you see children that are shackled. Many of them cannot even attend schools. If you go there, you see makeshift. There have been different ways to take money from donor agencies and maybe development partners. You think they are not even observing how unaccountable we are in things like this. I have said here before that even their amnesty program for repentant Boko Haram, the money is also used to fund these amnesty programs. And also the money is also used. I don't know, but I don't want to report it, but I'm suspecting that even ransom payment in some quarters, it could also be part of the money being withdrawn. We are not serious of fighting insecurity. We are not. We are talking about state police. Of course, we know very well that the states, have been making some efforts, asking swift response to this issue of insecurity ravaging the country, but that is by the way. But the point remains, how many more are we going to do? We are so much concerned of places of 2027. If you go to Benue IDP camp, if you go to camps in Plateau State, and so many of them, you cry for this country. For me, I think it is absurdity. There's nothing anybody will tell me about it. It is total absurdity. We have to face the problem head on. We have to face the monster head on, not the way we are going about it. Money ordinary. Look at health facilities we are talking about the other day. Do you know what 500 billion could have done? Do you know what 500 billion could have done in area of education? But we are dedicating that amount, growing a monster. That's what it is.
All right then, Tony, thank you very much. We need to take a break now, attend to some commercials. When we come back, we'll definitely open up the phone lines and then round off on other conversations, probably quick mentions. Do stay, it's the Polity, Udala Radio 104.7 FM.
You're listening to Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Seriously authentic.
Microfinance Bank, they're here to make that your dreams come true. We get different loans so we the offer what you fee use boost out your business, make you set make more money. Our asset loan fee help you get one sharp keke na pepe like this. We get salary account loans for civil servants, agricultural loans for farmers, micro loans for small businesses, and SME loans for bigger businesses. We also get all types of accounts them, savings, current, and fixed deposit. Make you match come our head office today for Basilica Square, Basilica of the Most Holy Trinity Onitsha, and our other branches where they scattered all over Anambra State. You fit call us for 0907 324 3044.
Microfinance Bank. Oh, yo, yo.
This is to inform all members of the Catholic Charismatic Renewal in Nigeria CCRN, Fegi Zone Estate Committee, as well as all landlords and landladies, that the 2026 Mid-Year Estate Meeting will hold on Sunday, 21st June 2026, at the Immaculate Heart Parish Hall, Fegi, by 1 p.m. prompt. The meeting will provide a comprehensive progress report on the Umueri and Nsugbe Estates projects for the first 6 months of the year. Important issues to be discussed include the proposed GRA Aguleri Diversion Road and its impact on the Umueri Estate, the second phase of plot numbering and allocation perfection, Nsugbe lifting payments, preparations for the rainy season, document signings, correction of names and records, collection of outstanding documents, settlement of arrears and applicable penalties, as well as other matters concerning estate development and management. Plots are still available for sale. For enquiries, please call 080-3673-3641 or 080-6299-3380. Signed, CCRN Fegi Zone Land Committee.
Shopping for Onitsha don better well and it don sweet pass before. Welcome to Belmont Supermarket, your shop lot for better shopping, house things, groceries, drinks, toiletries, and all the things we dey use every day. And now we don open brand new confectionery and bakery department. After you don buy the things wey you wan buy, you fit still buy fresh hot bread and other snacks, sweet cakes, hot meat pie, crunchy spring roll, correct samosa, sweet puff, poggers, and many more. No forget the fresh hot bread. Na so for Belmont, everything what you need they under one roof. Freshness, convenience, quality, and satisfaction. Now waiting with the serve every blessed day. Oh yeah, Jare, make you visit us today for number 1 Okono Street, opposite All Saints Cathedral, DMGS Onitsha, Anambra State. You feel call us or send us message for WhatsApp 0906 157 2700. Now 0906 157 2700. You feel also follow us for Instagram at Belmont Onitsha. Belmont Supermarket and Confectionaries. Shop different, taste freshness every day.
When election reach, everybody go talk. Plenty promises everywhere. But when time to vote come, some people no go show. Later, everybody go come dey complain. No sit down. When the time reach, go vote. Make your choice for count.
104.7 Udala Radio.
You're listening to The Polity. Get involved now.
And absolutely, still the Polity on Udala Radio 104.7 FM. I'm Chisom Chinedu. Franklin Ebuka is here, and Dr. Tony Olisambeki is still here with us on the phone line. And Tony, quickly, let's talk on these two things and then quickly open up the phone lines. We understand that governors are seeking swift establishment of the of state police. And of course, the federal government has come out to explain the prisoner transfer deal with Ethiopia and have come out to say that the list is problematic. Recall the list that we spoke about a few days ago that has the bulk of the names of the persons on it being from the southeastern extraction. Quickly touch on those and we open up the phone lines. Hello, Tony. Okay, I quickly would need to try to get him again. But Franklin, You saw that response or reaction by the federal government about that Ethiopia prisoner deal.
Well, when we raised that very issue on this platform, we said it was important that we approach it with a pinch of salt, knowing that there was no official communication from the maybe Diaspora Commission,
absolutely,
or for the Minister of Foreign Affairs and what have you not. And as we spoke that very day, it turned out to be that it's a list to be believed with a pinch of salt, because the Minister of Foreign Affairs has explained that there is more to the list, that he has not released any list. In fact, what she said was we do not have 136 Nigerians who are in prisons in Ethiopia. So I believe in the coming days to be able to put out what the facts are, so that we get to understand that.
Absolutely. Tony, quickly, let's go. Hello? Hello, Tony, can you hear me? Okay, I think the network has become messy where he is. Join the conversation now, 0803-221-6973, 0828276694. Those are the numbers to call to be a part of the conversation. You can drop your comment on WhatsApp on 0803-221-6973. On Facebook, drop your comment at Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Franklin.
Yes, good morning.
Don't release objection on the line. Good morning. The voice of Honorable is the Mayor, Mukuchu Mejobi Okunola. Let me first of all quickly thank you people for bringing a professional secular doctor. He has done justice to some of the problems that we used to have in Nigeria about that. But I want to say, I blame government for what is happening, because like terrorism making the power of China, if we put strict measures that anybody that does not go for adequate kick and give trade to that secular, that we go to jail or pay a huge amount of money. I think people will not be relying on law, knowing fully well that he will enter for it. Then, insecurity in the country, I have taken down that number. There are many people that are the head of the governance of this country knows what they are doing. Look at the amount of money that are being mapped out for insecurity. Instead of them to use it to buy necessary gadgets to fight insecurity, they will be sharing the money. Well, I want to say that many of them are hearing the hospital. Only that these children that are still in the forest need to talk me. God bless Udala Radio. God bless you all. Thank you.
God bless you too. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, my speaker. My name is Polity. My customer. Let me check an issue.
Okay, sorry, your voice is too low. Can you be more audible?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, let me speak on issue of insecurity in Nigeria, because I had a television decree describing the type of insecurity we have here in Nigeria. But let me say something here very clear. Whenever we talk about insecurity, we are not talking about kidnapping or the criminals. We are talking about terrorists. And whenever we talk about terrorists, I don't know how our people are seeing it. Because the way I see this, what we call an insecurity and all these equity type of things, one thing I want to say is that these terrorists are using a very strong ammunition to fight within our soldiers. Then I still find it for that even our police, state police, cannot even stop the terrorism for them. Because I didn't that we have soldiers who is equipped, and they do have drones and the cameras to patch out where these people are and hide them. If our country had decided to fight these terrorists, I don't think they will be able, because these terrorists are the ISI, people that are coming from the Hamas, like the Hamas, like God. So it's very terrible. So if our country has to fight these terrorists, they have to call the intelligent people, because it is just not just a joking issue, although because made here, because they have been taking over the ground, and I don't think that I think will help in keeping them can bring this solution, because this is a very terrible line. These people have been rampaging this country, and they have decided to make this country the head office of this terrorist in the whole world. That's what I saw here. You know, when our people come out to fight against the terrorists, and then they will not know how to stop the terrorism. Thank you.
Right then. 0803-221-6973, 0803-827-6694, or join the conversation on WhatsApp on 0803-221-6973 and on Facebook at Udala Radio. Hello. Are you there? You should try to reconnect. 0803-221-6973, 0803-827-6694. Those are the numbers to call. And on WhatsApp, Obiago Christopher Ikechuku from Abatan Sube. He says, on sickle cell disease, there should be increased awareness of its dangers, free genotype testing, government-approved hospitals, and policies preventing traditional institutions from contracting marriages without genotype results from the intending couples, heavy punishment on any hospital that makes mistakes or falsifies results. And frankly, the question of penalties in terms of misdiagnosis, this is one thing that outside of the sickle cell issue, a lot of times people get misdiagnosed in Nigeria. And the question is, why are there no penalties?
That's when it boils down to the issue of the quackery, and then the lack of supervision by those relevant authorities who are supposed to supervise, because it's a two-way thing. One is that you go to some hospitals and you see people who don't know the job. Not that they don't know the job, they also don't use the right equipment, they don't use the right reagent in doing their test, and then when doing diagnosis, they diagnose wrongly. At the end of the day, get out false result. But if we have supervisory authorities, if we have, so Tony, just hold on. If
the network actually cut me off that time.
Okay, just hold on a bit. Hold on. So if we have a supervisory authorities that actually do their work, get to supervise all these things, have their eyes on what they do, they will be able to detect where we begin to have a recurrent complaint about people being misdiagnosed, and then setting aside the punishment. That will go a long way. Look at the case of Chimamanda Adichie. Of course, we know how it went on, and as we speak now, it's at a halt. So until we begin to have the consequences for some actions we have in Nigeria, of course, people will now learn that it's no longer business as usual, but wherever you do anything and get away with it, it becomes life continues.
It's really sad. Tony, before the network cut you off, we were having a conversation concerning governors seeking speedy passage of the state police law now, and the question has been about this issue of alignment, and of course the concern that has often been raised by the average Nigerian. Of course, if it's going to improve security and management, so we do not have, would I call it, recklessness and a handling that would make it counterproductive. A few days ago, a video trended of some security officials, local vigilante officials, by the way, here in Anambra State, trying to arrest some persons. Frank, I think that was about a theft issue, if I'm not mistaken. Something was missing. And one of those security officials was seriously using a machete to slap one of the accused. At that point, they were still accused, right? Because they've not been proven guilty by any court of competent jurisdiction. And people ask the question, is this how we are going to go into the conversation or get state police? And now governors are looking towards speeding up the conversation and establishment of state police. And this question has still not been answered.
I think we have answered that question many times. When you feel you have not been answered, in fact, yesterday I made allusion. And I said, there is this agenda to take over your lands. There are people who have this negative ideology. They are on a mission to take over your lands. If you are still wondering, governors abuse, go and ask the people of Kwara State. Go and ask them question. Anybody who has this thought, governors will abuse it. Just wait, hold on until your lands are taken away from you. I don't know. Are you there?
Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead,
So
please.
it's something we must ask ourselves this question. You wouldn't, because you will be injured in a fight, you know it is necessary, and said you will not engage in that fight. A fight for survival, a fight for your people. I'm just using metaphors because you wouldn't want to get injured. And that's more reason why you will not get involved in that very fight. That's what it's like. Very important. See, we must take ownership of our lands. If not for anything, our future, generations or unborn generation will not forgive us if we are not doing what we are supposed to do. And this is the time the state, the federal government is providing opportunity for people to take over security of their lands. And somebody is saying governor who is abusing. Governor that the one that will come and go. Will the governor remain there forever? Governor that will just before you know it, 4 years, 8 years is over. Yaya Bello, when he was doing all the things he was actually accused of doing, is it to the governor? Hasn't he gone? I don't know. Most times, I remember when I was in UNN, my then Vice Chancellor, Professor Ginige Membanefo, would always encourage us to reason beyond OP junction. When you are microscopic in reasoning, that's exactly what you get. Governors will abuse it. As if somebody will remain governor forever, and your lands are under threat. Those who are saying that governors will abuse it, they are chasing rats while their house is on fire. That's all I can say.
All right, then. Let's take some more calls. Hello, good morning. Hello? Yes, good morning. You should try to reconnect now. 0803-221-6973, 0803-827-6694. You can also join the conversation on Facebook, Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Yes, good morning.
Udala Radio.
Good morning to you.
Thank you, Udala Radio. My name is Comrade. I'm calling from Amabaka. But what is that saying? If insecurity in our country, we are not left that we have these people and we should take our destiny in our hands. And now Tony, Tony now is agreeing with me and the Calvin what he said so many years ago. He said about all these things. And it is coming to pass. It's that time we forget about the book, but the book I read. What the thing I carried this thing was true. He said it. But I followed all those things. And I some people, they don't even care about it. They're talking about 27. So I don't blame the white people if they are saying that we are making this against them. Because I don't know how can people bring money and after donors they give help or society people. We are settling it. So I don't know how to put it. So I encourage people. People are doing a great job in Udala Radio. So God bless you people.
All right. Let's get to hear you. 0803-221-6973. You can also drop your comment on Facebook, Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Good morning.
Yes. Good morning.
Good morning.
Dr. Thomas, good morning to you. This is Harry from Onitsha, please. Onitsha GRA.
Harry, go ahead, please. We can hear you.
Yes. On the issue of insecurity. Well, let me say this. Doctor, you mustn't, blame those who will claim that the governor will use the state police to attack political opponents. That is to say, to their own personal interest and advantage. It's simply that these, people saying this, they are yet to, to perceive the real situation we all are in. Okay? They have been bereft of any idea concerning the state of insecurity in Nigeria. That's why they will say that. Let me tell us a thing. Somebody told me to bring the war to our doorstep in 2019. I don't know if you've forgotten that. And the war has been taken to your doorstep. And you are still, wallowing in ignorance. Let me tell us. It's high time you throw away any form of myopia, okay, mundane inclination and reasoning, and the key aim to reality. They have come to kill all of us, all of you, okay? And you are here trying to find the reason to, to throw away the reality that is already kicking you in the face, okay? Having said that, there is this position of mine. All town unions, all the ways, traditional, what do you call them, PGs, and the concerned, persons must rise up now and start discussing insecurity. In all the towns in Igbo land, I am saying this, I'm 100% sure what I'm telling everybody. We must stand up now and start discussing insecurity. We call it our priority. Let us prioritize that now and leave every other thing, to lie by the side at the moment, as it stands now. Okay?
Thank you.
Now.
All right, then. We have to let you go. Let's head over to Facebook and see what you have to say.
Okay, so on our Facebook page here, we have some reactions, and the very first one is from Gregory Thaddeus. He says he posted from Asaban. He says, my experience on this is that the girl I loved initially was AS and I am AS, so it was clear we could not continue with the relationship. Surprisingly, till today, she hates me and refused to admit the fact that it was best we ended the relationship to avoid having an SS in future. And he says it's very unfortunate. Dr. Missimo Libera from Awarimo State says, as long as the dictates of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria are not obeyed by all and sundry, as long as the separation of power is not obeyed to the letter, as long as we do not strictly and religiously obey the laws we set up for ourselves, we will continue running in circles. In Nigeria now, okay, she's asking, is Nigeria now a banana republic? How can we disregard the laws we set for ourselves? Doing this undermines justice and weakens and destroys principles that hold it tight. And she says that it's worrisome. Amadi McDon Mike says, 34 days in captivity, people's children are in the bush suffering while our government officials are busy sleeping comfortably with their own families together, and he says it's really unfair. Then Adewumi Kazim is watching from New Garage in Badon. Thank you for watching. Then Namani Francis says the rejection from outside the world is worse than the disorder. I will live and die in the shadows. Dandolas from Awadobosi. Okay, his real name is just a minute. So his real name is Obunna. Yes, Daniel Obunna from Awadobosi. He says it's very bad and uncalled for. Knowing full well that you as a man and woman cannot match together as a couple, yet you decide to get into it because of one selfish love between both of you.
Very selfish love.
Thereby bringing one innocent child to the world to suffer. My wife faced this kind of challenge with her ex-boyfriend. The guy brought out so many means for them to get married, but my wife said no, that she couldn't stand seeing her child suffer just because of one thing called love. And he says, let's be guided, please. Then Cityman says, I think the awareness of sickle cell should start in primary schools. I remember I knew my genotype while I was about entering JSS1.
Great.
The school demanded for it. Let it be compulsory in every secondary school. And he posted from Subwe. Obuanya Leonard, thank you for watching from Or. And Jacob Bishop says he's wishing all the sickle cell warriors, giving them more energy and hope, hoping that they will be able to, try, keep on these very trial times. He posted from Accra, Ghana.
All right, then. On WhatsApp, Engineer Dasco from Onitsha says, I don't think insecurity is ending in this country soon because our current governments are not doing anything to prove us wrong. They are trying their best. INEC should try their best to help the citizens get their PVCs on time without delays, in order to get preparations on time for the elections. Thank you guys for the good job. There's so much we can take on today's edition of the Polity. Tony, are you there? Hello, Tony. Can you hear me? Tony? Hello? Okay. I think Tony cannot hear me. Franklin, your final words as we round off.
Well, just to emphasize on what we have said before, on two things I'm going to emphasize. One is about the ongoing CVR. It does not make sense that people come out to register and then they are faced with challenges created by INEC. And when I say challenges created by INEC, I mean, subjecting people to one machine to register a good number of persons. Just imagine that you go to Onitsha, North Local Government area, which that covers a good population of people, and people turn out in their numbers to register and they only have one machine. Not just because they have one machine, they also have network challenge. And people will flood there, stay there for the entire day. They don't get registered. They return tomorrow. Something happens. So how do you think that we'll be able to come on this radio and encourage people to go and register and they're going to listen to us? So what I mean is INEC needs to do the needful, increase the number of machines, bring in more ad hoc staff, and then those who are political stakeholders should also help to manage their pressure, even if it means to convince INEC, make an arrangement for them to bring this thing to the world level so that people will be able to register. They should also do this. We shouldn't just be by the sidelines, allow INEC to do the way it wants it. We can come in, interface, make some facilitation that can help people to register. Then on the issue of the sickle cell, I think we cannot cry more than we have cried. They say a word is enough for the wise. And it's better to have wisdom than to allow yourself to be driven by emotion. Because sometimes we get entangled in this thing we call love. And we think that if we disembark from that very journey, that life is going to fall into pieces. It's not actually true. Because what tests love is when you are in difficult situation, that's when you get to test that love that you claim that you have.
Absolutely.
So, that now you disembark from the point of entry, than when you get into the middle and you're thinking about how to disembark. At that point in time, it had become so difficult. So anything you can do to avoid bringing into this very world children who are going to be sickle cell sufferers, do that. If you have been close to people who have this very disorder, you will understand what we are saying, because from time to time they are having battle. That's one woman I used to work with, Aisha Edward. If you know her, she has kind of foundation she runs now. Aisha, she's a survivor. In fact, she left the military because of that crisis. And if she tells you her story, if you are around her, you understand. You can have an appointment with her, and in the next maybe 1 hour, everything has changed because of the crisis. So we need to do everything humanly possible. Let's not be swayed. And I also need to emphasize too, please, when you run tests or when you do screening for genotype, don't just depend on one screening. Please go to as many labs as possible to be sure. Why? We have quackery, we have a poor laboratory equipment. They can give you wrong diagnosis. I told you a story of how a friend of mine, sister of a friend of mine, was having some discomfort. She went to hospital and she was told that it was appendicitis that was disturbing her, that she must go for surgery. In fact, they were making an arrangement for the surgery until when she told me. So I asked a couple of questions, and she told me the way she was feeling. I said, okay, have you done so and so? Have you done so and so? Have you done so and so? Based on the experience I've had in that very area. And when they went to different labs, lo and behold, it was found out that she was having issues with ulcer. And the first lab had already told her to go for a surgery. So what we're saying in a sense is, do the needful. All you can do this, then we can now leave others for chance.
Absolutely. This is 34 days since the children were taken away from their school in Oyo State. We're still calling on all relevant security agencies, government at all levels, as local, state, and the federal, to facilitate as soon as possible the release of those innocent children who had only tried to exercise their rights to education. Of course, we need to take care of the future of Nigeria. And like you said, Franklin, it can never be overemphasized. How do you look a child in the face and tell the child that you chose yourself over the child's life, sanity, and health? I mean, how do you want to explain to a child that in 2026, you decided despite being told that you are not compatible with your significant or that the person you chose or you are about to choose, that you chose each other instead of choosing the future. Don't forget, 80% of such marriages get to pack up eventually because, I mean, everybody gets drained at the end of the day. And so when we can prevent the spread of the sickle cell disease, can we please do what we can to prevent it? Also, we are calling on orientation agencies to do better. I mean, look at the figure up north. 1 in every 4 Nigerian being a carrier or a warrior now, and 40.5% of Kano's population being warriors. It means there is something we really need to do in terms of sensitization, in terms of bridging the gap, and of course, providing equity in sickle cell disease. The Polity is going to make a return on Monday, 9:15 down to 11 a.m. right here on Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Until then, I am Chisom Chinedu. Thank you for your contribution. Stick around for more music coming your way from now until 12 o'clock when we bring you our news at noon and at 12:25 on the Cherry Box for the